Imagine a world teetering on the edge, still reeling from one global conflict, yet already plunged into new battles, ideological clashes, and fierce struggles for freedom. This was the landscape of 1920. The year 1920 stands as a crucible of the 20th century, a time when the echoes of the Great War had barely faded, only to be replaced by the din of new conflicts and the rumblings of widespread discontent. Empires were crumbling, old orders collapsing, and the promise of self-determination, though selectively applied, ignited aspirations across the globe, leading to pivotal moments in history, from the fledgling states of Eastern Europe grappling for their sovereignty to the restless colonies challenging imperial dominance. 1920 was anything but a peaceful interlude. It was a year that saw the lines of the future being drawn, often in blood, as nations fought for their very existence and peoples demanded a voice in their own destiny. Among these struggles, the Polish-Lithuanian War represented a complex chapter in the re-emergence of Eastern European nations after centuries of foreign rule. Both Poland and Lithuania, having recently regained independence, found themselves at odds over historical claims, particularly regarding the city of Vilnius. This vibrant city, with its diverse population, was seen by both as an integral part of their national heritage, fueling a territorial dispute that escalated into open conflict. Initial clashes were sporadic but intensified as both nations sought to solidify their borders and influence. In the power vacuum left by the collapse of empires, the conflict was intertwined with the larger Polish-Soviet War, adding layers of complexity to the already tense geopolitical situation in the region. The League of Nations attempted to mediate, imposing armistices and plebiscites, but these efforts often proved insufficient to resolve the deep-seated historical grievances. A significant event was the Galagowski's mutiny in October 1920, where General Lucien Galagowski, a Pole, ostensibly defected to seize Vilnius. This act led to the establishment of the Republic of Central Lithuania, a short-lived entity that was eventually incorporated into Poland, much to Lithuania's enduring resentment. The Polish-Lithuanian War, though often overshadowed by larger conflicts, had profound and lasting effects on the relationship between these two nations for decades to come. It highlighted the difficulties of defining national boundaries in ethnically diverse regions and the struggle of newly independent states to assert their sovereignty. Parallel to these regional struggles, the vast canvas of the Polish-Soviet War was reaching its dramatic climax, a conflict with far-reaching implications for all of Europe. This war was more than a territorial dispute. It was an ideological battle between the fledgling Second Polish Republic and the nascent Bolshevik state in Russia. The Bolsheviks, fresh from their Civil War victory, envisioned a global communist revolution and saw Poland as a crucial land bridge to revolutionary Germany and Western Europe. Poland, led by Józef Pilsudski, sought to create a strong, independent state, potentially even a federation, to serve as a bulwark against both Russian and German expansionism. Initially, Polish forces advanced deep into Ukraine, aiming to destabilize Soviet rule and secure a buffer zone for Poland's eastern borders. However, the Red Army, under brilliant commanders like Mikhail Tukhachevsky, launched a powerful counteroffensive that rapidly pushed the Poles back. By the summer of 1920, the Red Army was at the gates of Warsaw, threatening not only Polish independence but also the very fabric of Western European stability. European leaders watched with bated breath, fearing that if Warsaw fell, the red tide of Bolshevism could sweep across the continent, igniting revolutions everywhere. The survival of Poland became synonymous with the survival of independent Europe. The stakes could not have been higher for both sides in this epic confrontation. The Battle of Warsaw, fought in mid-August 1920, became the defining moment of the Polish-Soviet War, a desperate struggle for national survival against overwhelming odds. Pilsudski, despite internal dissent and the dire situation, conceived a daring counteroffensive, a complex maneuver that would strike at the Soviet flank. His plan involved a feigned retreat to lure the Red Army deeper, followed by a swift, decisive strike from the southern flank, coordinated with a frontal defense of Warsaw. The Polish forces, often outnumbered and outgunned, fought with immense bravery, knowing that the fate of their nation rested on their shoulders. Crucial to the Polish effort was the support and strategic advice provided by a French military mission, including figures like General Maxime Weygand and a young Charles de Gaulle. Their expertise in military planning and logistics, combined with Pilsudski's audacious vision, proved to be an invaluable asset in the dire circumstances. The Red Army, overstretched and confident of victory, pushed relentlessly towards Warsaw, seemingly on the verge of achieving their revolutionary objective. However, the Polish defense held, buying precious time for Pilsudski's flanking maneuver to materialize, setting the stage for a dramatic reversal of fortunes. On August 16, Polish forces launched their counterattack from the Vipers River, smashing into the thinly spread Soviet flank and rear, causing chaos and panic. The Soviet lines, already extended and poorly supplied, began to crumble under the unexpected ferocity and precision of the Polish assault. turning advance into a rout. The Red Army's retreat became a headlong flight, characterized by mass surrenders and the abandonment of vast quantities of equipment, a testament to the Polish victory. The Battle of Warsaw, often referred to as the Miracle on the Vistula, marked a decisive turning point, effectively halting the Soviet advance into Europe. This victory preserved Poland's independence and, arguably, saved Western Europe from the immediate threat of a wider Bolshevik expansion, reshaping the continent's future. Following the battle, the war continued for a few more months, culminating in the Treaty of Riga in March 1921, which established the Polish-Soviet border for the next 2 decades. The outcome solidified Poland's position as a sovereign nation and forced the Soviets to abandon their dreams of exporting revolution westward for a considerable period. While Europe grappled with new borders and ideological clashes, the colonial world was also erupting with long-suppressed demands for self-rule and justice. Promises of greater autonomy made during World War I, in exchange for colonial support, were largely unfulfilled, leading to widespread disillusionment and anger. In Iraq, the British, having taken over from the Ottoman Empire, established a mandate under the League of Nations, promising a path to independence. However, British administrative policies, heavy taxation, and a perceived disregard for local customs quickly fueled resentment among the Iraqi people. The Great Iraqi Revolt of 1920 erupted across the country, uniting diverse, tribal, and religious groups against the British occupation. Led by tribal sheiks and religious figures, the uprising targeted British garrisons and infrastructure, demonstrating widespread opposition to foreign rule. The British responded with significant military force, employing air power and armored cars, leading to thousands of Iraqi casualties and hundreds of British deaths. The intensity of the revolt forced the British to reconsider their approach. They eventually installed Faisal I, son of Sharif Hussein of Mecca, as king of Iraq in 1921. This move was a strategic compromise, granting a semblance of self-rule while maintaining substantial British influence and control over vital resources like oil. The Iraqi Revolt of 1920, though brutally suppressed, marked a crucial step in Iraq's long journey towards genuine independence, demonstrating the deep-seated desire for self-determination. Further west, Egypt, a British protectorate since 1914, was also a hotbed of nationalist sentiment, with calls for complete independence growing louder. The 1919 revolution, triggered by the British exile of nationalist leader Saad Zaghloul and other WAFT party members, continued to reverberate throughout 1920. Massive protests, strikes, and widespread civil disobedience paralyzed the country, underscoring the Egyptian people's unified demand for an end to British rule. The British, facing increasing pressure and a breakdown of order, dispatched the Lord Milner mission to Egypt in late 1919 and early 1920 to investigate the situation. The mission's report acknowledged the strength of Egyptian nationalism and recommended that Britain negotiate a treaty granting Egypt independence, albeit with specific conditions. However, negotiations between the British and the WAFT party, led by Zaghloul, proved difficult, as the WAFT demanded full, unconditional independence. Zaghloul's unwavering stance and the continued popular support for the WAFT made any partial solution unacceptable to the majority of Egyptians. Ultimately, while full independence wasn't granted immediately, the sustained pressure from the nationalist movement led to Britain unilaterally declaring Egypt an independent kingdom in 19. Yet, this independence came with significant reservations, allowing Britain to retain control over foreign relations, defense, the Suez Canal, and Sudan, leading to continued struggle. These reservations meant that true sovereignty remained elusive, fueling subsequent decades of nationalist agitation and political instability in Egypt. Meanwhile, in the vast subcontinent of India, the year 1920 marked a profound turning point in its struggle for independence from British colonial rule. The brutal Amritsar massacre of April 1919, where British troops fired on unarmed civilians, had ignited widespread outrage and galvanized the nationalist movement. By 1920, the massacre's aftermath had solidified the resolve of many Indians and convinced even moderate leaders that constitutional reforms offered no genuine path to freedom. It was in this charged atmosphere that Mahatma Gandhi rose to prominence, launching the Non-Cooperation Movement, a groundbreaking campaign of nonviolent civil disobedience. Gandhi's philosophy of satyagraha, meaning